Do you think it's possible to be a confident person and heal your childhood past if you're still fighting with your parents today? That's our question for Ask Dr. Syra today. How can I be a confident person and heal my childhood trauma if I have not healed my relationships with my parents? Thank you, Sandy, for that question. Yes and no-ish. Let's see what we can do. I'm Dr. Syra, and this is Ask Dr. Syra, which is our weekly series where I answer your questions about psychology, spirituality, personal development, relationships. And so here we go. The big question. Can you be a confident person and heal your childhood trauma if you haven't healed your relationships with your parents? So there's kind of two categories to this answer. So one is the category of somebody who's had childhood trauma that's extreme, like violence in their home, domestic violence, addictions, those types of, incest, like those kind of really terrible things that sometimes happen in families. There's that category. And then there's my parents were just kind of mean, and they just kind of didn't pay attention to me, or they just weren't there. So these are two different, I would answer differently depending on where this person's coming from. So I'm not sure, Sandy, which of those it is for you. But let's start with the milder one. Okay, so you've had kind of these negative experiences with your parents through the years. You don't really have a relationship with them today, one that's kind of connected and close. Can you have a good life? Yes, of course you can. And because the thing is so I work from a background of systems, right? So family systems. And so when in a systems model, it means that the whole family is connected to each other. And so when one person in the family changes, the whole system starts to change. And so you don't actually need your parents to change for you to have the life that you want. You might need to change your perspective of your parents. You might need to change your expectations of your parents. You might need to change your stories about your parents, but they don't need to necessarily change for you to be okay and move on from that kind of toxic relationship, whatever that might look like. So I always say that there's kind of three people that we're relating to when we relate to our parents. So we're relating to the actual person that's there in front of us today. We're relating to the parent that they were in our childhood, right? So there's a child part of us that's relating to them, how we knew them as children. And then we're also relating to that parent that we wish we had, right? All of us have this idea. I know for me, it was one of my friend's moms we went for a sleepover one time, and in the morning she made pancakes from scratch. And that was like mind-blowing for me. Like, first of all, I didn't know pancakes could be made from scratch. I thought they came out of an Aunt Jemima box. And second, that the mom was kind of up with us and like looking after us and taking care of us. My mom had us be really self-sufficient, and we ate Cheerios for breakfast. We ate cereal and milk. Like, that was breakfast on a school day. So to have like a home cooked breakfast was a really different experience. And in that moment, I remember thinking, I wish my mom was like that. I have this aunt who makes these incredible, delicious meals. And every time I was over at her house eating, I'd think, oh, I wish my mom cooked like that. I wish my mom looked after me like that. And I'm sure people looked at my mom and thought, oh, I wish my mom was so approachable and she was so like fun and carefree and, all the qualities that my mom had. So we're relating to our parents not only as they are, but as we wish they could have been. Right? As we wish they could have been. So if you understand that there's these three kind of ways that we're relating to our parents as grown children, it helps soften it a bit, because then I can say, okay, you know what? This is not the mom of my childhood. She's a different person. It's been 40 years. Like, give the poor woman a break, right? She's changed. So first of all, acknowledging that they have changed. Of course, if they haven't changed, then they're sociopaths, because people change over time. Good ways, bad ways, people change. And so first of all, acknowledging that it's not the same parent that you had growing up, right? So then that puts that out of the way. The second is kind of grieving the loss of the wish, the loss of the dream of that perfect parent. And for me, that grieving started when I had kids, because I realized how hard it is to be a parent and how many balls you have to juggle in your mind all the time, and how you can't always give your kids what they want for their own safety, for their own health, for their own discipline, like so that they actually like don't become terrorists in the world. I'm not terrorists, but you know what I mean. They don't become crazy people who are being mean to everyone and like bullying kids on the playground. You can't. You have to have limits with children, and children don't always get that that's for their best interest, right? I understood that when I became a parent. Before that, I had this whole story about how I was going to be as a parent. Yeah, threw that out the window as soon as the baby was born. It was gone. So kind of that grieving of I'm never going to have that mom that I imagined, because that's not who she is. She was never that person, right? And my children might wish that I was something else, and that's not who I am either. And I'm doing the best I can with what I have and what I know as their mother. So you put that one aside, that wish of the parent that you wish you could have had. Then starting to relate to the parent that's right in front of me right now, right? Actually being willing to see them, not just as an extension of you, this is my mom or my dad, but as a person in their own right, as a person with their own story, their own narrative, their own struggles and belief systems, their own blind spots, right? So once we can relate to them as a person, it becomes less activating when we're around them. And then you do that work on yourself. It's not about, fixing or changing them. So that's the answer that I would give to that first scenario or the second scenario of less kind of just toxic parenting. Then there's the like damaging parenting, right? The parenting where you have addiction and you have violence and you have domestic abuse and those types of things. And sometimes adults find themselves stuck in these situations and they have children and they're trying to manage how to do all that. So in that situation, what I often do with my clients is we go through something that's called kind of a reparenting program, right? Where we actually learn what you should have received as a child, right? The things that should have been available to you, whether that's love, whether that's support, whether that's somebody to be really present, whether that's your basic needs being met. And there's a process, and it takes time to go through that process of getting reparented. And you're parented by your adult self, right? I mean, it sounds a bit complicated. So if you want more information, you're gonna have to like contact a therapist and talk about like, what does it mean to be reparented? But that's the process. It's a journey because in the first 5 years, we figure out who we are, and then we kind of keep that template for the rest of our life. It's just kind of how the brain works. And so what we have to do in those situations, we have to unravel a lot of those beliefs that feel like truths to people. They feel like truth, but they're actually just beliefs. We have to unravel those, and we have to replace those with the truth about who you are. And the truth about who you are is that you're just a person here trying to do the best that you can. And sometimes you're great to be around, and sometimes you suck to be around, like all of us, right? There's amazing, bright, shiny things about you. There's dark, sticky things about you, like all of us. And so being able to see ourselves as beautifully flawed human beings, and maybe one day seeing our parents that way too, maybe. And that may or may not happen. And so it's not about forgiving your parents. It's not about saying, okay, well, you did your... No, it's in either case. It's not about forgiveness in that sense of, okay, it's fine what you did. No, but forgiveness is about saying, I don't want to carry the weight of this pain any longer. I want to move on from this, right? And as long as we're having kind of attack thoughts to a person, we're linked to them. We're bonded to them with this like chain of hate. So there's actually an exercise that I lead clients through around like cutting the cord of hate and how we do that. So those are my thoughts for the two different perspectives. If you have had a childhood that was really traumatic, that was really violent, that you had to deal with a lot of, one after the other trauma, and you're not seeking professional help, this might be a good time to start looking out for a therapist. Because even if you're not in crisis right now, it's useful to kind of explore and unravel some of those things that you just picked up as truth about yourself and the world, and change that so that as you walk into your life, you don't bring all of that with you. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for the question, and hopefully that was helpful. Please feel free to send me your question, leave comments in the link, and make sure to like and subscribe. Check out the rest of our Dragonfly Wellness TV. There's different playlists going on here. So enjoy, look around, and we'll see you next time. Bye.